In conversation with Ellie Jay. Ellie Jay is an independent author with a love of fiction and a nasty habit of sarcasm. She writes books of all different genres and ties them all together with sarcastic third-person narration. At the moment, her published works include The Secret series, a trilogy of Russian Mafia action thrillers with dashes of science fiction and overarching sarcasm, and Planet of Lies, a sci-fi story that is packed full of witty dialogues and narration. She also dabbles in book reviews, auto advice, social media marketing, and so much more. She's focusing on polishing her brand and growing all the avenues she works within. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today, Ellie J. How are you doing today, Ellie?
I'm great. Yeah, the sun is shining. I've got all my books. Been looking forward to having a conversation.
It's exciting, really, to have you on. I must say it's quite exciting because I've been looking for today's as well. I've been checked to some of your works on the internet. I find them to be quite amazing, and it's great we are here to sit and talk about it. So thank you very much for coming on. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well. So, Haley, I need to first say that I was taken aback. I'm quite intrigued by the description page of your book, Family Secret, which is the part of the Secret series in Amazon. I would like to ask you, what inspired you to write this book? What inspired you to start the series? How many more books are we looking forward to in the series? And could you tell us a bit about the making of Family Secret itself?
So, in terms of inspiration, I can't really be very helpful. I'm sorry. I have absolutely no idea where most of my ideas come from. Quite a lot of the time, I don't have a plan. I don't really have a lot in mind. I just sit down and write, and whatever
Mm.
happens, happens.
Yeah.
Family Secrets was actually slightly different because I already had some of the first lines from another project,
Mm.
which I wrote when I was a kid, and it wasn't a great project overall, but I really liked the first lines. So I wanted to write a new story that fitted better with those lines. So that's where that idea started from. In
Mm.
terms of other books, the Secret series is finished now. Well, fingers crossed that I've finished it. I might go off on a tangent and start writing something else. But
Oh.
so far, it is three books. So I have Secrets of the Volkovs, Family Secrets, and
Mm.
Secrets in the Flames. And then there is a special edition, which is all three books in one with some short stories that use the same
Oh.
characters. But that should be the full series now.
That's quite amazing to know, really. I love your take on that. It sounds to be quite intriguing, really. And I love the way that you had to show that to the camera. Very fun. And also, Hurley, I wanted to ask you, what is your goal when you write? And for readers who haven't read, the book yet, and without giving much information away, could you give us some of the sneak and the overarching themes that we'd expect, picking up Family Secret?
So when I write, my goal is mostly just to entertain. I just want to tell a fun story that anyone will
Mm.
enjoy. I don't complicate it. I don't try and tell a story with a great message behind it. I just want there
Mm.
to be a bit of action, a bit of humour, and a good time for readers of all ages and backgrounds
Yeah.
to enjoy. For Family Secrets, a quick summary would be that it is the story of a young woman who discovers that her mother has lied to her for her whole life. So
Mm.
she runs away from home, but then she ends up entangled with the mafia group that her mother was trying to protect her from.
Mm.
And without giving very much away, that is the whole Secrets series hinges on the fact that this mafia group were responsible for the death of her father years ago.
Wow. That's quite intriguing to know as well. I love your take on that. And I also see that you have another book titled Secrets of the War Curve, which is also part of Secret series. Would you like to talk about the making of that as well?
The making of Secrets of the Volkovs is quite interesting because I wrote the Secrets series in completely the wrong order. So,
Oh.
in the timeline of the characters' lives, Family Secrets is book two, but it was actually the first one that I wrote and published. So, Secrets of the Volkovs is the prequel to that. So, chronologically, it's book one. Like I said, it's about the protagonist from book two's
Yeah.
father and his story. So in terms of timeline, the making of it was quite interesting because I then had to try and line it up with what I'd already said and not forget what I'd said in Family Secrets. So it all makes sense as a series.
Mm.
The other interesting thing about the making of it was that actually I wrote this book during lockdown for COVID-19. I'd
Oh.
already written Family Secrets, and then everything shut down, and I couldn't go to university anymore as a student at the
Oh.
time. And so we were all just inside. I had nothing to do but write. And so, in terms of writing, it's quite a rare thing because I managed to finish the first draft
Mm.
in about 6 weeks because I had nothing else to do and I just wrote it. I've never been able to do that again, writing another book, because I just don't have the time anymore.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Thank you for sharing that. That sounds to me to be quite something. Thank you for sharing, really. I'd like you to show the book again to the camera, one after the other. From Secrets of the Wolf Cuffs to Family Secret. Yeah.
Yes, Secrets of the Markov. Oh, there
And
we
you've
go.
got a beautiful cover
And I
design
have
in there.
all of them because that it's Family Secrets is the second
Wow.
one, and then I wrote the third one, Secrets in the
It's
Flames.
in
So
the
I
frame.
actually wrote them in order 2, 1, 3. So it's all completely in the wrong order.
Wow. And that's a lot, really. That's a lot. I was going to ask how you get time to find the time to sit and write these books because I know the writing books can be very demanding. Yeah. How did you find the time to sit and write all of this? I think you did mention COVID-19, coronavirus time. Yeah,
Yeah,
fine. I wanted to ask you, how did you find the time? How do you juggle daily life activities together with writing activities? And also, who are your target audience for your books?
quite a lot of finding time because you see, like I said, when I started, I was a student and I was in lockdown for a lot of it. A lot of the writing
Yeah.
then, I had loads of time. And
Yeah.
then as I went on, I got a job. I'm still writing now, but I've got to fit it around full time
Wow.
work and family
Wow.
commitments and marketing the books I've already written because that takes up a chunk of your time as well. When you've got a few books, you still have to get them out there, get them seen.
Mm.
I think the main thing that I do for time is just try to have a sort of target word count for a day. So even if it's just 500 words a day minimum, because that
Mm.
doesn't take very long. Squeeze that in, and then if you've got more time, great, you can do more. But if not, at least you've still had time to practice writing.
Mm.
As for a target audience, I've never really been able to pinpoint one specific target audience.
Yeah.
Like I said, I set out to write books that anyone could enjoy, and I think they do because when I've sold the Secrets series,
Mm.
I've done in person events and I've sold them to teenage girls in my hometown,
Yeah.
but I've also sold ebook copies to 60-year-old men on the other side of the world, for example.
Wow.
And I don't know, I mean, how would you lump them all into one target audience?
That's quite amazing to know. So I love your take on that. I really love your take on that. And I wanted us to talk about feedbacks, readers' feedbacks, because one of the things that interests me the most about writing is the fact that our works as writers can be interpreted in different ways by different readers based on their opinions. And sometimes some things that we as a writer or as an author may want to convey might be slightly interpreted by the reader. Sometimes they might get the message you wanted to convey. Sometimes they might be close to getting the message. Sometimes they might not get the message. Sometimes they might be far from getting the message. And it's just a bunch of differences in review stems, in feedbacks, in what the readers think of the book. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel when readers interpret your works differently than you intended? How does that make you feel as a storyteller?
I've been on both sides of this. It's really interesting because when I studied English literature at university, I
Oh,
could be sat
wow.
in a room with loads of other people and we'd all read the same book, but the professor would be saying something about it and the person next to me would be saying something else. And I'd be thinking, I didn't see any of this. I thought something completely different.
you
I
know,
didn't understand what they were saying because I had my own view on it. I have a couple of experiences with reviews that are really strange. So, a funny story about someone completely misinterpreting or differently interpreting
yeah.
something that I wrote was See, now it says in my bio and I market myself as a sarcastic author, but when I first started, I didn't
Mm.
do that. I thought my books were 100% serious because I tend to write as I talk and as I think, so
Mm.
I often don't realise when I'm making a joke because it's just
Oh
something natural
wow.
to me that
Mm.
I brush over. And so
Yeah.
I first put Family Secrets out there and I got this review that said, "This book is hilarious." And I
Wow.
thought, oh no, have I done something wrong? Are they mocking me? Are they laughing at me?
Oh
But it was a 5-star review.
yeah.
So it was positive. And so I thought, I must have done something somewhere. And I went back and read it, and actually I could see the
The
jokes that I've
the
made,
jokes
things
in
like
there.
somebody escapes from the mafia by hiding in a wheelie bin. It's
Wow.
like I could see it again. So actually, that reader had a clearer view than I did because I'm sort of too close to my own work and I don't see things that they do.
Yeah.
So that was a really great experience. I've had interesting negative feedback as well,
Mm.
which I can't see where the person's coming from at all. Because one person left me a 1-star review and he said there was a typo, but he said the
Oh,
typo was on the front cover,
wow.
which I don't understand how it can be, because it's literally
Wow.
just the title of my name. And I don't
Wow.
know what he was talking about. I still
Wow.
don't.
I think this is one of the beautiful thing about writing, and one of the beautiful thing about literature in general. I myself recently got a feedback, was it yesterday, from a reader, and it was the reader was constructing my idea, and I was like, absolutely. I mean, I love it. I'm not trying to preach any particular notion. When I write, I love to create an open space for further conversation, and I like it. Even if you disagree with what I've written, it's absolutely fine. And I was like, please go ahead and post your review. And I was like, oh, that's gonna be so. It's always amazing how people interpret books quite differently. And I think this is one of the beauty of being in a book club meeting where we have 5 people come together, or 10 people, or 15 people come together to talk about a single book they've just read. And the first person review will differ from the second person review, and will differ from the third person review, and differ again slightly from the fourth person review. And no, 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 no. We keep getting different feedback. Now sometimes it got you wondering, did we read the same book? I mean, did we read the same book? Are you talking about the same book that I just read, or it's another book from the same author? It's a very beautiful and funny thing, really. I love it. Thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah, there's so much.
And also, early, you released your first book, Family Secrets, when you were 19. So would you like to go back and change anything now, if possible?
I think if I was going to change anything, it would
Yeah.
be in terms of not the book, but how prepared I was for publishing.
Oh,
Because when
yeah.
I wrote that book, I was a writer and I didn't know anything about the rest of being published, just the writing part. I had no idea. Like, I didn't have a cover prepared. I hadn't had the book professionally edited. I
Mm.
just signed up to Amazon and I hit publish on this first draft of Family
Wow.
Secrets. I was 19 and it was just out there.
Wow.
But the great thing about publishing as an indie author is that you can just go back and change it for
Yeah,
free. It's
absolutely.
easy. So, and there's also this really great community, and everyone wants to help you.
Mm.
So, I got really nice constructive feedback from people
Interesting.
who had looked at it and said, you've got a good idea, but you need a better cover, or you could do with editing this part. And I was actually able to go back and produce the polished version of Family Secrets that I have now. So it's not, I wouldn't need to go back in time to make those changes, but it
Yeah.
would be nice to have the knowledge before putting
Mm.
your work out into the world.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's quite beautiful to know, really. And that's a lovely answer you've got in there. Thank you for sharing. And now, Ellie, just apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
This is quite a long question. I think you know because I showed you some of these earlier before we
Yeah,
started recording. This is quite a long one to answer. So we've briefly touched on Secrets of the Volkovs
yeah.
and Family Secrets. I
Yeah.
also have Secrets in the Flames, which is the third part of the series. I
Yeah.
have this huge special edition, which I don't even know if I can show to the camera because it's too big,
It's
which
good.
is all three books together with some
Oh,
short stories.
oh wow.
And I then have Planet of Lies, which is my sci-fi story that
Mm,
follows a space pirate. And then I have two anthologies that I've been published in as well. So I have Quick Stories and Poems Volume 1 and Volume 2.
mm,
In terms of current projects, I am very, very slowly working on the sequel to Planet of Lies. I've been working on it for a while. It's not going as I planned, but it will come out eventually, fingers crossed.
wow.
And there is also going to be another Quick Story Tales
Mm.
anthology published later this year, which I will be part of as well.
That's amazing. You've got a lot ongoing, really. That's a lot of works you've got ongoing. And I hope you find some times to sleep.
Yes. Yeah, it's finding the time to get anything else done.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, really. Those are quite commendable. Well done. Yeah, very commendable. Now, I wanted to ask you, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing these books and also ever since it got published?
So, publishing is an ongoing process. It's constant, it's quite fluid. You've always
Yeah.
got the marketing side, you've always got potentially making changes, putting new editions out there.
Mm.
It's quite a long, complex process. I think sometimes people think it's just a case of you hit publish out there and that's done. But
Yeah.
it's not. There's quite a lot of work goes into published. It's challenges really is just things that I've mentioned earlier, like being prepared, making sure you've done all the stages that you have before you publish, working
Mm.
to a deadline, trying to make sure that you communicate with your audience and your
Yeah,
editor and everyone who's involved in the process.
absolutely.
And in terms of writing challenges, I've usually found the writing part really quite easy, and then it's
Mm.
everything else afterwards where you start to think, oh my gosh, this is
Mm.
so much harder than
Yeah,
actually writing a book, publishing one.
absolutely. Wow, that's amazing, really. I mean, it is a journey, really. Publishing is a lot. It's really a lot. It's a journey, and somebody like you who have written one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. It's quite commendable. I need to say that again. It's quite commendable because I know writing, it's not an easy job. Much less having one, two, three, four, five, six, seven novels. It's a lot you're doing. Well done.
Thank
Thank
you. Yeah,
you.
it's
Thank you
quite
for sharing.
it's quite an effort to keep track of everything and
Yeah.
make sure that I'm paying attention to all of them and I'm marketing them all as
Yeah.
well as working on new projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, as someone who has written quite a lot, I would like you, if you have any sort of advice for writers out there, those are the ones that are quite unpublished, who are looking forward to eventually publishing a book like yours. What would you give a writer in that category? What advice would you give someone?
This is in two parts, writing advice and publishing advice.
Yeah.
My writing advice, my go-to writing advice, doesn't sound very helpful when I say it out loud, but really it is just keep writing.
Mm.
One, because practice makes perfect over
Yeah.
time. And two, if you keep writing, eventually you will hit on the thing that is going to be your book or your short story that gets published or
Yeah.
whatever it is. You'll find the concept that will work for you because there'll be loads of drafts that probably don't. I've got thousands of projects that will never see the light of day because they
Mm.
weren't my best ideas or I've
Absolutely.
outgrown them. But just keep writing, you'll find the right thing for you.
Mm.
In terms of publishing advice, it's a bit trickier because there's so many different ways to publish a book
Yeah.
nowadays, which is
Yeah.
great. We're really lucky that we've got different platforms.
Mm.
So I would advise people to do their own research and find out what works for them.
Yeah.
Because if you want to go, say, the traditional route of getting published, You have to figure out how to query agents and deal with publishing houses
Yeah,
and put up with the constant rejection that comes with
it's a
trying to
lot.
find the right person to represent your work.
Mm,
And if you want to go the indie route,
mm,
or self published as some people know it, you have to realize that then the responsibility is all on you,
yeah.
from finding an editor, creating a cover, marketing. You can pay other people to do that, but it still has to come from you. You have to find the people, you have to find the budget.
Mm,
It's quite a lot to take on. So you have to realize what each approach entails and how
mm.
much work goes into that.
Absolutely. I love your take on that, really. That's a huge advice you've got in there, and I'm hoping that viewers, even including myself, would love to utilize it. I love the fact that you mentioned the rejection associated with, traditional routes, which can be a lot, really. Sometimes this rejection can be very depressing, wanting to tell you that, oh, you're not good enough as a writer. Imagine you, after writing a book, and you send it to a publisher, and you have to wait 6 months before you get a feedback. And after waiting for 6 months, what the feedback you got is, sorry, we cannot produce, rejection email. And you're waiting for 1 year, 2 years. It's quite a lot, really. That's one of the reasons why I think self-publishing is coming in now, to bridge that gap of people not wanting to be waiting for a long time before you eventually get your book out there. Yeah, it's a lovely one. Thank you for sharing. And just in case we have some viewers who are watching this interview and would love to get a copy of any of your books, on what platform are they available on for purchase?
So I have them available on a lot of different platforms. Amazon is probably the most well known, the
Yeah,
easiest for people to find.
yeah.
I'm also on Barnes and Noble, on their website. I'm on Kobo. There's quite a lot of places you can find me. I
Interesting.
also have a shop directly on my website. So if you just
Oh,
Google Ellie Jay, Ellie Jay Writes, or Ellie Jay Author, it will come up and you can buy direct from me. And every copy that you buy, every physical copy that you buy there is also signed.
oh, interesting. I love that. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Ellie J's books directly on Amazon and Barnes& and Nobles, on our website, on Kobo, and also on other platforms. I also left a link to our social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Ellie, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. I must say this conversation is more than awesome. Very great, quite exciting, fun, and amazing having you in conversation around your beautiful titles, around your inspirations, around the characterization and everything. Thank you once again for coming on. This was really great.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a great conversation. You've asked some really wonderful questions, things that have got me thinking. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well.